Forget about traditional retirement. The idea is to accumulate wealth and money, not for the sake of money. It's to accumulate wealth and money for the sake of freedom, for the sake of autonomy, so that you personally have options to do whatever you want to do. Hey everyone, Michael Zuber's on vacation. I'm your substitute YouTuber today, Coach Carson. Hope you're doing well. The topic today is the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, is a gimmick. Or is it? This was the headline of a tweet that I read earlier this year from a pretty well-known Twitter profile who I actually I follow, named Justin Welsh. And I want to read this tweet to you, show his argument for it, and I want to give a little bit of a counter argument. Someone who has been in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early movement, who has retired early myself. I want to share my insight on this. So first, to read this tweet to you, Justin says, I'm convinced the FIRE movement is a gimmick. It operates under the assumption that life should be lived in two distinct buckets. Number one, accumulation, where you work hard and you pinch your pennies. And then bucket number two, enjoyment, sort of. Retire and then live a frugal life. To me, that's backwards, he says. Continually delaying gratification is the worst thing you can do with your money. You'd be better off finding something you'd love to do where there's potential to make a lot of money. Get a job with an upside where you can advance forward and perform like hell, or better yet, start something of your own, like a business, that you're excited to pursue. Save and invest some, sure, and spend your money while you're young, healthy, fit, and energetic. Choose either route and do it well for a long time. You'll make a lot of money and you won't have to eat grocery store ramen and yogurt for the back half of your life. Well, there you have it. He says the FIRE movement's a gimmick. And I want to just summarize his main argument. The main argument that he and a lot of people make about the financial independence retire early movement is a beef with this word retire. And it's also this beef with this idea that early in your life, you go through this aggressive saving period where you save maybe 50% of the income that you make. And this is, quote, a sacrifice, right? And there are trade-offs. If you save money, you're not spending it on something else. Maybe you're not buying as nice of a car. Maybe you're not living as nice of a place. Maybe you are taking different vacations. So the two premises of his argument, number one, you're going through this period of time, this accumulation phase where you don't enjoy life, where you delay gratification. And number two, you enter this, quote, retirement place where you're having to live frugally, eating yogurt and ramen noodles because you're not making enough money. All right, so a couple things I want to say about this. I'll tell you briefly my backstory in case you're brand new to me. 2003, I graduated college 2002. I started investing in real estate in 2003. That's been my career. So flipping houses, buying rental properties. That was 21 years ago. And eventually I started buying rental properties. And I've gone through kind of these incremental phases. You can think about like climbing a mountain, and I kind of get to these plateaus where I sprint, get to a plateau, take some time off, live off a little bit of the cash flow, save some money, do many retirements. That's kind of my thing, traveling, living abroad, and then getting back to work, growing a little bit. But each time I kind of get a little bit higher up the mountain, have more wealth, have more freedom, more independence. That's been my own story using rental properties to grow over many years. The thing that I have a beef with about this whole argument is, number one, that when you're in this period of saving money aggressively, and maybe you save 50% of your income, it's a really common idea that you can't enjoy life while you do that. You're having to sacrifice. You're not and the main reason is I think a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, associate spending money with happiness. And I kind of look at it the other way around. This is almost like a philosophical thing. That yes, you're saving money to invest, and that is the way you build wealth, right? But you're also forcing yourself to think about what happiness is in the first place. And I found for myself, when I spent less money, I had to get more creative with happiness. I had to get creative with the activities that make me happy. Instead of like a kid in a candy store spending money, let me buy this thing to make me happy. Let me buy this thing. It's like, well, could I take a walk to be happy? Could I go out in the woods? Could I find, a picnic lunch that's just as enjoyable as going to a $200 lunch or dinner that's just something you just do just because? And so this is like FIRE movement to me at its best is really about kind of rethinking consumerism, rethinking happiness, and not to say you can't spend money, not to say you can't, spend lavishly on things. I have a friend, Paula Pant, who's also kind of prominent in the financial independence retire early movement. Her whole platform, a podcast, is called Afford Anything. And her motto with that is, you can afford anything you want. You just can't afford everything all at once, especially. So if you really love nice dinners, you can spend lavishly on that, but money is a limited resource, at least at this moment in time. You can build more in the future, but you have to choose between things. There's always a trade-off. So if you spend money on the nice dinner, maybe you don't drive as nice of a car. You just drive a beater. For me, I am not a big car person. Some people love cars, so I've never really spent that much money on cars. I love travel. I love going abroad. We spend lavishly on the plane tickets, on going other places. But even yet, earlier in my life, when I didn't have as much money, during the accumulation phase, we would go on different kinds of trips. We would go on trips that were more frugal. But did we not enjoy those? Did we have a lot of fun? Did we have to, quote, sacrifice during that period? It wasn't my experience at all. It was some of the happiest times of my life, in fact. And so I push back big time against this idea that there's a trade-off. Like, you can't have happiness while you're building wealth, saving money. And so therefore you should just like ignore this whole thing. Like, just save a lot of money, like save a little bit of money, 5%, 10%, set it aside, but enjoy your life. That's the pushback you get. And that's a kind of a false pushback. It's not an either or proposition. So the other thing I would say is this sacrifice period where you're saving more money is not a permanent thing. I told you a little bit about my story. This is for me, it's been 3 to 7 year sprints. So think about, like, you're going up a mountain and you're pretty aggressive and you're pretty focused and you're going, and you're climbing. That climb is the building of wealth, the saving of money. Well, if this isn't like you have to climb your entire life, you could take a break. And that's exactly what I did. I would save super hard and work really hard and earn a lot of money for a period of time. And then I would take a break. And I would literally press pause on my wealth building, not earn as much money. And this is where you could choose whatever you want to do with that time. Early in my life, it was like a month or two during my professional life where we just traveled. We went abroad and we would go very frugal. My wife and I, when we traveled to South America with backpacks pre-kids, we had to go for about $100 a day. That was kind of our goal. So if we went for a month, that's 3,000. What is that? 30 times 100, $3,000 plus some plane tickets. So you could save up the money, almost like you're saving up for a car when you're going on these travel trips. But the harder thing, and here's where my beef with Justin is as well, is that the time you need and the flexibility you need to get off to take these trips is much more difficult than the money side of the equation. So you have to save up some money, but a big part of the FIRE movement, at least my experience of it, has been that you force yourself to not delay living a retirement lifestyle until the end of your life. You actually intersperse your entire life with these little mini retirement periods, whether it's 1 month, 6 months. My wife and I went for 17 months with our kids once we had kids to Ecuador and South America. My wife's a Spanish teacher. The kids learned to speak Spanish. They went to local schools. We had an amazing experience. I got to practice my Spanish. I got to go know local people. I had a wonderful experience. We came back to the United States, did COVID, and then we went to Spain after that when our kids were a little bit older. So these trips, these experiences are the kind of culmination for me of these sprints that you can take. And so you sprint to build wealth, you sprint to save money, you take time off, but it's kind of like a spiral. Each time you take this little bit more time off, you're testing out what makes you happy, going back to that kind of concept. You're saying, at the end of my life, a lot of people, quote, retire at the end of their life. Well, why not try out these periods of leisure, these periods of doing something different, these periods of cultivating your hobbies, whether it's a garden, travel, teaching, whatever. And then you test out, like, is this really what I want to do? Like, what do I enjoy doing? And what I found is I do that kind of for a period of time, and I come back to my work even more invigorated because I enjoy the work, I enjoy the process, but I've taken a break. And we type A Americans, at least pointing it to myself, this type A American, we need to take breaks sometimes, detach ourselves from this cycle, because if you continually climb the mountain and don't take these many retirements, then burnout, health problems. It seems like a great idea the first 2 or 3 years. 10 years later, your life starts dragging a lot. And you get burned out, and so that's what the FIRE movement pushes back against. So finally, the idea of financial independence, retire early, whatever you want to call it. Maybe there is a branding problem. The retirement word is a bad word, right? But the whole concept to me is redefining this idea of retirement, of like kind of throwing traditional retirement out the window. Say, forget that. Forget about traditional retirement. The idea is to accumulate wealth and money, not for the sake of money. It's to accumulate wealth and money for the sake of freedom, for the sake of autonomy, so that you personally have options to do whatever you want to do. Like, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to spend more time with your kids? Do you want to work 20 hours a week? Do you want to work 80 hours a week, but you want to do something that pays very little money, but it's really meaningful to you? My motto at Coach Carson is do what matters. That's a value question. That's a value slogan. It's about what matters to you in your life, so that let's just get money out of the way. Like, let's take care of money earlier in life as possible. And if, everybody has different life situations, some of us have a harder hole to dig out of than others. So whatever early means is up to you. But whether it's 29, 49, 69, 65, like, who cares what number it is, but get there earlier. Start saving money, living frugally for the purpose of giving yourself more freedom. Invest that money for the purpose of giving yourself options to do what matters to you. I think that's a brilliant idea. In fact, not only is it giving me more freedom, but by me having more financial independence in my 30s and accumulating that money earlier in my life, I've actually got a lot more peace of mind. Instead of me being on the stressful treadmill where you go over and over and on, and you're always on somebody else's clock, and you're always worried about meetings and making money for somebody else, that's done. Like, you don't have to worry about that. And I've had this much lower level of stress, and I call it like a peace of mind, knowing that, number one, I'm in control of my schedule to a large extent. Number two, I'm in control of the things I want to do with the people with whom I want to do it with, and particularly my family, being able to spend more time with my family, my friends. And then let's go back to work, working on projects that matter to me, and saying, forget about the money, whether it makes money or not. And I do believe in making money in a business. I think that's a wonderful structure, even if you are financially independent. But I've also done nonprofits. I have a nonprofit in Clemson, South Carolina, that a group of friends and I started to build a alternative trail system, a network of walking and biking around our community of Clemson, South Carolina, because it matters to me, because it's important. I'm investing money in there. Don't want to ever make a dime out of that, but it's something that's important to me. But it's a job. It's a part-time work. It's a passion project. And I know all of you listening have your own passion projects, or if you don't, maybe they're buried down, from 20 years ago, something you really want to do. Like, that is work too. And by focusing on financial independence and retiring early, having more options early in your life, you can choose to pursue those and say, I don't care if it makes money or not. This is just something that's important. This is something the world should have. This is something that the world should experience. This is a problem in my community I want to improve. That is, to me, what the financial independence retire early's movement's about. So thank you, Justin, if you ever happen to see this, for letting me kind of rip on that and giving me the opportunity to give a little bit of a counterpoint to the financial independence. I don't think it's a gimmick. I think it's the least gimmicky thing I've ever experienced in my life. But who knows? I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments. Let me know what you think about that. If you are watching this right now and you want to follow along with me, my channel is Coach Carson on YouTube. So just check it out. Search for the Coach Carson channel. I have a new video that comes out every Monday. And I also wrote the book called The Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor. Check that book out if you want a blueprint for how to build a rental property business to achieve financial freedom like we talked about today. But you don't want to own 1,000 units, even 100 units. You just need 3 units, 10 units, 20 units. Get them free and clear. Get a lot of income coming in so you can have peace of mind, time to do what matters to you. That's what it's all about. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for watching One Rental at a Time. Michael Zuber will be back after vacation. We'll see you next time.